Hey there friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and with Iron Banner being back in Destiny 2 right now, I want to start a new series where I showcase my favorite builds for each of the favored subclass in Iron Banner, which are Solar, Stasis, and Strand this season, and I'm going to kick things off with my favorite Solar Warlock build for PvP. This thing is a ton of fun, very underrated, really good for map control if you're a fan of pulse rifles and stuff, so let me just jump right into it. It all starts with the exotic Sanguine Alchemy, which has the armor perk Blood Magic. While standing in any rift, gain a bonus to weapons with a damage type matching your subclass damage type. Weapon final blows while standing in any rift. Pause the rift's cooldown, extending its duration. So, with the Sanguine Alchemy, you can essentially feel like you can control the battlefield by dropping a rift before you engage in the fight and then taking down a couple enemies. By that point, you'll have your damage perk activated on your weapon. Like, for example, I'm using Forge's Pledge with Rampage, so I will get a kill or two and I'll have my Rampage ready to go, and then I can just continue on, and that's when I'm going to counter push and really try to get as many kills as possible from that point. So that's why I really like this build a lot. You start off a little bit more defensive, but then once you get things going, you're really pushing in, and then if you get in trouble, you'll probably have your rift back when you get low on health the next time, and it really creates this nice cycle that I very much enjoy. You don't have to use Forge's Pledge. You can swap it out for like BXR or any other solar weapon there, but I just think a pulse rifle really shines right now with the current meta. I'm also running Wardcliff Coil. You can run whatever you want in this slot, especially if you're running your favorite exotic heavy weapon. And then I'm also running Incisor. Now, truth be told, I originally tried to run this because I wanted to see if Slice would work in PvP with the artifact and some of the artifact mods that you have this season. It's not really all that effective, so it's not super useful, but the Incisor is still a very, very good weapon. But a lot of that was done for testing. If you have a better build than this Slice and Tap the Trigger one, definitely use it. I have other ones, but again, I wanted to try Slice in PvP and see how I enjoyed it. As far as the subclass, I'm running Daybreak, especially in Eruption. You get your super back very quickly if you are getting kills, so Daybreak makes more sense. You can get a ton of kills, and dropping a well in Eruption isn't super useful because you're staying in one place and really you should be chasing kills. Then I've got a Healing Rift. This is really where the build kind of shines because it allows you to constantly take fights and take peak fights as you are getting your Rampage or Kill Clip or other damage perk ready to go on your weapon. Then I'm running the Burst Glide personally, as well as Celestial Fire. This is the better melee for PvP in my opinion, as well as the Fusion Grenade. This might be a surprise to some people. I love the Fusion Grenade right now, especially on the Warlock. It is a very low cooldown, so you can get it back super fast. And with Touch of Flame, it'll explode twice, leaving pretty much any enemy one-shot to be finished off with either a Celestial Fire, a single shot from a pulse rifle, a little tap from your Incisor. Anything will kill an enemy. They are literally, like, there's no way for them to heal either if you stick them with a grenade, so that's why I like that so much. As far as the fragments, I am running Ember of Ashes, Scorch More, obviously your grenade and your melee both scorch, so that is very helpful. Then we've got Ember of Singeing. My class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. Every enemy that I hit with an ability is getting scorched, so again, I'm going to have those abilities back really quickly. Searing, this is going to grant me melee energy and create a fire sprite for scorched targets that I defeat, which is pretty consistent. And then finally, we've got Ember of Mercy, so picking up a fire sprite grants restoration. And you'll see I pick them up fairly frequently in a lot of the clips, so it's pretty consistent to do that. As far as the mods go, I'm running Dynamo, Solar Targeting, Solar Siphon. We got Firepower, Impact Induction, Solar Loader. We got Triple Unflinching Solar Aim, the Better Already Absolution, and then finally we've got Powerful Attraction, Time Dilation, and Outreach. So again, as I mentioned before, the gameplay is pretty straightforward. You're going to proceed forward, use your Icarus Dash, get into combat really quickly, drop your Rift, get a kill or two, and then once you've got Rampage heated up, once you get rolling, especially in Eruption, you can really generate your abilities very quickly, and so that's when you can essentially steamroll your way through. The things you got to be careful for are what you normally have to worry about when you are playing Iron Banner. One, it is very chaotic. There's going to be players coming from everywhere because it is 6v6. So you're going to want to find a spot where you can really control your angles. That's something I see a lot of people fail to do. They'll run in the middle of a cross section where you can get shot from multiple different directions, and it really gets themselves into trouble. If you are about to have your eruption timer go off, obviously you need to push very quickly, but otherwise you want to play smart enough that where you are pushing into combat, but not necessarily leaving yourself exposed from multiple different angles. And that's why I always pop my rift before I get into combat, because the animation does take a while. I see a lot of people who don't often play Warlock say that the animation takes too long for Warlock rifts. When I don't believe that's the case, I think you should be popping it before you actually get into combat. And you'll see if you get some kills, that rift timer really gets extended and you can get it back very quickly. So you can essentially have your rift all the time, which I feel like is very, very nice. Now, some other things to keep in mind, you definitely want to play at a distance with this initially, but once you're rolling, once you have rampage or kill clip procced on your weapon, you can get up close and really defeat enemies quickly no matter what range you're at. One thing I will say is I like to use the Icarus dash to get away from shotgunners specifically, because someone with a shotgun is going to be very difficult to deal with if you try to straight on fight them as they're hard rushing you and you don't find an angle. So what I'll do is I'll jump dash away, I'll hit them with a grenade or a melee, and then I will either hip fire my pulse rifle or even my trace rifle and kind of burn them down in that direction. So you see a lot of shotgunners in the game right now, and I think that's one of the hardest things for people to counter with a build like this. You just have to play smart, and remember, you have that dodge, which is very useful. You can float in the air, which again, very useful as long as you're not getting shot from a bunch of different angles. And again, you're going to want to initiate the combat yourself and play at a location to where you're not going to get surrounded, you're not going to get hard rushed from behind and all that kind of good stuff. I think it's something that will come with time, but is a big frustration for people when they do play Iron Banner, I believe. I see a lot of this online from people saying that Iron Banner is frustrating because it's just too much going on. Everyone's kind of bum rushing from every which way. And while that it can be true, I enjoy the chaos myself, and I think there's ways to thrive in it as long as you play smart and you bait somebody in initially. You see it in the gameplay a little bit where I will jump dodge away from a shotgunner, they will miss their shot, and then if I'm far enough away they won't be able to hit their second shot either, and I can either finish them with a grenade, a melee, or just my initial shot. So I think it's pretty easy to counter overall as long as you play smart, but you do have to be aware all the time. Anyway, that's my build. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously. Shows you want to see more of this type of content from me. Going forward, Destiny 2 is going to be in a bit of a lull for the next few months. So I'm going to continue to bust out builds that I'm having fun with. They might not be the most meta, but I am going to enjoy them. And I think a lot more people should try stuff that is different, that they can find joy with, not necessarily specifically what's the meta. Anyway, my name is Jopa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.